What's going on, everybody? Josh Kronfeld and Robert Diamond here, RotoPros, talking about the EPL slate tomorrow. This is our first show together, the first of many. Rob, Rob, how are we doing today?
I am excellent. It's Friday. It's the weekend.
Yes,
Things are good. How about you?
I'm good, man. I'm a little tired, but I'm on the up and up. I drank a little coffee and I got some water next to me, and I got my nice, fresh new Naby Keita Liverpool, kit on. So got good vibes about this. Let's, we got good. Let's educate the people.
Yeah, I agree.
So, it's for full disclosure for everybody. I personally haven't been focusing on EPL DFS for a while. So for the first couple shows, and as I get myself back into it, I want to, really highlight Rob here as the expert and kind of just tee him up. And then I'm a big EPL fan and a very knowledgeable soccer fan. So I'll chip in a little bit but mostly we're going to focus on Rob for now. And, as hopefully by next week or the week after, I'll feel comfortable enough to really, push my opinions on you guys as well. So with that being said, no further ado, Rob, how do you want to start this? Do you want to, pick a position, kind of start with forwards, or do you want to talk about some matchups that maybe we're, specifically targeting, or just general DFS soccer strategies? Go all the way back to that, or I don't know.
Yeah, I'll start with positions. Let's start with keepers. That's usually how we did it last year, so we may as well keep it up with the keepers. I think Allison's the obvious choice that everyone's going to land on. It's useless in GPP because he's just going to be too highly owned. He's too expensive. If you take Allison, you're basically taking out your leg in order to afford Mane and Salah later. So for GPP, you're going to have to move someplace else away from the obvious clean sheet win. Brighton either going to score or not put enough shots on net. So there just aren't enough saves there to really warrant any kind of a real ceiling from Allison. The next keeper I want to talk about is Begovic. Bournemouth at home against Everton. Everton are on fire right now, so I expect them to lead the ownership charge basically across the board, and myself included there. I'm all about Everton this week, so it's not really that big of an expectation here that Begovic is at least going to get the opportunity to reach this crazy ceiling, and he's capable of it at home. Bournemouth are a much better team at home than they are away. So I'm looking for Begovic to get a win. And if the CS bonus does hit, it's going to be absolutely massive. It'll be on top of 6 or 8 saves. So from 4.8K in DraftKings especially, that's a really good salary that you can try to exploit. Another keeper I'm really interested in talking about is obviously the other side of the field there, Jordan Pickford. I think he's solid. He's just one of the best keepers in the league, one of the best keepers in all of England, really. So I have no real issue looking at Jordan Pickford. But my number one keeper of this slate is definitely going to be Kasper Schmeichel on Leicester against Southampton. Thing with keepers is that there's only one of them that you can put in your card. Can't own 2, so excuse me, the vast majority of people are going to be on Allison, leaving Schmeichel with a massive ownership gap that he should garner a lot more ownership than he will receive. So I expect him to even be just the high single digits ownerships and some single entry GPPs, especially if you can get any single entries on the go. Get Schmeichel in there with some Leicester wing backs. We'll talk about them later. But I think also Etheridge is a really, really interesting GPP play this slate. He's got back-to-back games with penalty shot saves. So I'll talk about a little bit more of that later with Huddersfield. But in terms of Etheridge, he has a ceiling. It's just he kind of needs a clean sheet to go with it, and targeting the away keeper for that's never really optimal. So it isn't something that I'm looking to do, but I think it's really interesting. It's kind of like Begovic, but with a little bit more salary relief and a little bit more positive variance, because the penalty shots could be coming a lot this season. But other than that, there isn't really a keeper I'm going to target. I think a lot of people are going to look at someone like Fabianski.
Quick question. Do you have any interest in Alex McCarthy? I know Southampton is very well at home.
Yeah, you're right. Southampton is a much better home team than away, but this year they're I don't want to say they're projecting, because that isn't the proper word, because I don't have literally a projection to show right now in front of you, or in front of everyone, excuse me. But the Southampton are a bad team. They're a really bad team all around. They're probably going to get relegated this season, and in particular, they struggle against counterattacking teams. I was going to talk about that a little bit later, but they may get torn apart for 4 this weekend. Last season against Leicester, they were an absolute nightmare, and they let Leicester run loose on them. Basically, anytime Southampton is running back to their own end without the ball, they're one of the most vulnerable teams in the league by far. So I'm really looking for Leicester to pound them this slate, honestly. And I think the reason I'm not on McCarthy is he's at home. He checks a lot of boxes, so a lot of people will still be on him. I just think that's more of an ownership trap from especially DraftKings at 4.9K. You can get Pickford, who's a better option than McCarthy or Begovic. Really, I still think either of those are better options than McCarthy. Let alone Schmeichel. Etheridge has a higher ceiling than McCarthy too. So I'm not entirely sure here. It's tough to say because Leicester games are blowouts, but. Yeah, I don't know. I think this one
makes perfect sense. Honestly, I like your. Sorry about my microphone. By the way, I'm gonna fix that in a second. Anyone watching?
Yeah.
No, it makes perfect sense. I like your logic on them not being very good on the counterattack. So that's good enough for me. And I think Schmeichel would be a good GPP play because of that.
Yeah, absolutely. But
let's move. Should we move over to defenders now and see which ones you're trying to pair with your favorite keepers?
Yeah, absolutely. So that is the basic idea here with defenders is that you usually want to pair them with the keeper. It's just more optimal. Obviously, there's keepers like Begovic who Bournemouth basically don't have any viable defenders in DFS. So if you're playing someone like Begovic, you kind of have to put him out there by himself. And that isn't exactly the most optimal, but it also really helps you set yourself apart, because not many people are going to be doing that at all, just putting Begovic out there. So I think I'll talk about it a little bit later, Sal, but sometimes in GPP in soccer, you have to take a kind of swing at things where a lot of people are going to be stacking a goaltender with the defender, so you can't do that too, unless you want to be the exact same, I think taking in just Begovic this week is a cool, little neat idea. But in terms of defenders, obviously there's no difference between Alexander-Arnold or Robertson. Both of them are excellent plays. I prefer Alexander-Arnold on DraftKings and Robertson on FanDuel because Alexander-Arnold isn't a 5-pass specialist. He's more of a crosser, set pieces guy, which are just more valuable on DraftKings. So I'm looking at that basically in cash. If you can stack Alexander-Arnold and if you can with Allison, you can still fit Salah in there without too much issue. So I have no problems doing that at all. Ben Chilwell is a cash lock every single week. Just if you're in cash and you need a defender that's going to get you 10 points, just click on Chilwell. He may not get you right at 10, but he's going to get you so close that it won't really make a difference. I really like Monreal for GPP. West Ham have literally one of the worst defenses in English Premier League history. Like, they're a disaster at the back right now. So I have no issue with just looking at all sorts of different Arsenal options. And when you look at, there's only so many guys in Arsenal who are in viable positions and play 90 minutes. And there's only 3 of them, and I'll talk about them all here. But Monreal is first on my list for Arsenal, someone that I'll be looking at. Pereira on Leicester. Last week he was my #1 defender and he paid it off. This week I'm going right back to the well on him. Southampton, like I said, they're walking clean sheet. They don't score many goals, so you're already in a situation where he's kind of Pereira starting with 3 points because of that clean sheet bonus. So kind of it's the same as Liverpool. He's in that same kind of realm of there's going to be a clean sheet here. So you may as well.
Strong words, man. I'm hoping Southampton doesn't come out here on Saturday and just
Well, they scored last Saturday too, so it isn't like the craziest thing that's ever happened. But
I'm just used to them being so good. They sell Liverpool everyone that starts for us, so I guess that's why they suck now, right?
Sorry. Oh yeah, exactly. No, they're widely known as like a farm team for all the big teams.
Right.
Which is funny because at the end of the year, there'll be a list of all the players that are playing in professional leagues, in the big leagues all across Europe. And
Yeah,
so
I saw that the other day. Like the all Southampton team over the last 10 years or something. It's a joke. It's like
exactly, Gareth Bale, Lallana,
Mane, Van Dyke, like it's the list goes on and on.
Bird, and
Crazy, Tadic, like some other midfielders. You know, it's nuts.
it's pretty crazy. And see, this is the thing is like I don't really have to worry whether or not I'm right or wrong about Southampton scoring this weekend. It's like they have a history, excuse me, of doing this. Like literally a history. Every year I've been playing DFS, they do the exact same thing every year. So I don't have to worry about who they have in the field. It's just what Southampton's going to do.
Love it. I love the confidence, and I'm sure
yeah.
Well, so
yeah, great. Carrying on from there, the Everton wingbacks Baines and Coleman are incredible. I'm still Baines is going to score a penalty shot goal like he always does eventually. So I'm really waiting on that. But yeah, Seamus Coleman's really good option for 4.6K in DraftKings. You really can't go wrong there. And even in the case Digne comes on, he's going to be coming on, for Coleman. So Baines is the guy you really want to go with in GPP because he's the only one that really has the shot at the huge ceiling. Because chances are Coleman's coming off like the 80th minute or something like that. And he'll still do fine. He'll still get you like a 7 to 10 score, which is excellent for cash from 4.6K. But in terms of GPP, I'm definitely looking for Baines because he has that goal upside. As I go down the list a little bit further in DraftKings, there's a guy really I'm bullish on this week for cash. Basically for cash, if you're getting Salah in there, you're going to have to take a bunch of salary risks across the board. Otherwise, you're just not going to get like a viable floor card. So one of the first places I'm looking for defenders is Joe Bennett on Cardiff. Cardiff's kind of running theme for me this slate. I'm not a big fan of Huddersfield in general. At home, they are obviously a better team than away, but I think Cardiff has a lot to offer here. And Joe Bennett from 4.2K, it's really hard to turn down from 4.2K. Huddersfield are not a team to dramatically drop your salary that significantly. So I have no issue looking at Joe Bennett here, excuse me, still to pull off a 7 to 10 fantasy point outing from 4.2. And honestly, that's more than enough from GPP. You can really make something happen with that at 4.2K because, like I said, 4.2K opens up a lot of different doors. But going down from there, I don't mind Van Dyke, honestly. At only 4K.
Goals randomly, you know?
He's so dominant. Like, Liverpool played Monday last week, so unless you're playing the showdown, it's like you probably weren't really paying attention unless you're a Liverpool fan. And he is just like maybe I talked about it a bit on Rotograms this week, maybe the best defender in the world right now. Like, he's just incredible. And he's completely re-revolutionized, if that's even a word. Sorry, Canadian coming out at me. The Liverpool back line. They haven't let in a goal at home since February.
I know.
So, like, if you want 3 points on any player, just take a Liverpool defender or a keeper. The issue is that, like, those expensive guys that cost 6K, that 3 points doesn't mean as much when the guy costs 4K. Sure, Van Dijk may only get like 2 or 3 fantasy points outside the clean sheet, but that clean sheet is like so insanely guaranteed. It's just so expensive that it's not viable unless Liverpool don't score like more than 2 goals. So Liverpool scoring 2 goals, that defensive production is more viable because there isn't as much goal scoring production happening. But if those goals start happening to 3 or 4, and you're starting to look at like Salah with 48 points and Mane with 31 points, it's like that shutout doesn't matter anymore. It's so irrelevant. So yeah, I like Van Dijk.
Get behind TAA. Because like a little pairing with him that's Trent Alexander-Arnold. Sorry, pairing him with someone like Mane or Firmino or someone like that. Your boy Robert. Just because you get that assist possibility, the double whammy on the assist to goal. But yeah, I was gonna say something about Joe Gomez too, but I didn't realize he's the same price as Van Dijk. So like you said, it's
Gomez just isn't scoring a goal this century. You know what I mean? Like it's just not.
exactly.
It's just not something you can imagine. And Van Dijk, you can because it's happened on occasions. So it's like they both have that same risk.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Why take unnecessary risk with Gomez when you can still have all the same situation with Van Dijk with a much better chance of goal? So yeah, that's basically my take. But I think if I was to pick two guys, it would definitely be Leighton Baines is my number one guy. I think this slate, and Pereira is a very second place. But obviously, Alexander-Arnold is going to crush everyone in terms of production. It's just what does that 6.6K get you at the end of this game?
What's just for our viewers? What's soccer value?
There's actually a lot of debate over this. Many people will tell you there is no soccer value and that it's slate dependent. I personally don't fully agree with that. It's a correct statement. I'm not saying it's an incorrect statement. I just think there are values that can be determined for like a generalization. Like the way I look at it is that for cash, you need everyone to do one or two things: make double digits or get 2.5. So like if someone costs like Van Dijk costs 4K. If he scores 4 fantasy points, that's 1 times value.
Right.
So basically for cash, you want Van Dijk to score around 8.5. You want 2.5, 2 to 2.5, or to get double digits. For GPP, you need 3.5 or double digits.
Across the board for positions in soccer?
At the end of it, you want to average basically 2.5. So if you have 50,000,
pretty good number for DFS. I think that's, I don't want to say universal, but that's pretty much what I look at baseball like too.
Exactly. And like the thing, I'm not saying here that that's the cash line. That's not what I'm saying. The cash line is unbelievably is the word fluctuative even a word? I don't know. I
know what you're trying to say though.
That's what it varies from slate to slate. The cash line is very hard to determine. But if you want to determine a state where no matter what happens, you're going to win, and especially in cash where it's like a 100% takedown rate in double ups and those kind of things, not head to heads, but like where you're in the double ups and you need to know that you're going to win and you don't even have to look at your contests, you need around 2.5 across the board, around 100 fantasy points. If you get 100, you're winning everything. No one's touching you in double ups. It's not even close. It would have to be like the craziest DFS slate in the history of DFS for you to lose a double up with 100 fantasy points.
That's FanDuel and DraftKings, or just DraftKings?
Just DraftKings. I'm not gonna lie, I don't play a lot of FanDuel.
Yeah, me neither. We can focus on DraftKings. That's
fine.
We get requests from viewers, or people asking we'll add it in.
A lot of times too, I don't speak from scoring differentials between sites. It's just good players or bad players. Pereira is going to do good on either site. It doesn't matter if he gets 10-5 pass specials or 15 crosses. He's just going to do good on either site. But then again, someone like Robertson, you're going to have to think about, because he gets more 5 pass specials than Alexander-Arnold. And I'm pretty sure he's even more expensive on FanDuel, if I remember correctly. So it's just, it's just the different type of play, right? Passing's a different beast. It's a mix of the showdown and with the normal classic mode on DraftKings. Mix that together and you got FanDuel. So it's definitely a little bit of the pricing's different. Like I think Harry Maguire on Leicester is the highest the price defender on this slate on FanDuel at 7K, and that's because he makes clearances like a madman and likes to pass the ball. And doesn't miss many passes, so he gets that 5 pass special like crazy. So like it's the scoring's tough, right? It's different. It's strange, but I prefer DraftKings, and that's where I generally focus.
Yeah, me too. And until FanDuel contacts us and offers me some money or something to say otherwise, we're just gonna have to stick with the truth. So I guess let's move on to midfield now. We kind of touched on some offense there, and the fact that like you're gonna want, especially on this slate, someone like a Salah in there who's 11K. So you do have a little bit of a gist of where we're going with this. But do you want to pick up at midfield? It's pretty funny. I'm looking at it now. The first like 4 guys are all Liverpool. I love it.
See, that's so like Bernie, you're noticing this for the first. Yeah, it's like this is soccer, right? Every slate, there's one team that dominates across.
Yeah, it makes sense. The best matchup,
like right? City, Liverpool, Chelsea, Spurs. See, I hate Spurs expensive slates because they're just not the best DFS team, but Liverpool expensive slates are awesome.
Yeah, Liverpool drops like 8 goals.
They're gonna cross like crazy. Even Man City.
Oh, it's in Anfield, right? This game.
Yeah, exactly. And like even Man City isn't that great of a DFS team. They're okay, but Chelsea's a really bad DFS team. They just don't cross the ball enough.
Liverpool's dropping 6+ this Saturday, I think.
And like that's fair. You can say that. I won't, but
no,
like,
6 is a lot. You're right. But I was at Anfield when they dropped what's it called? 5 against Roma in the semifinal of the Champions League. So I'd like to think who were they even playing? What's this team's name again?
Brighton,
Hove or whatever. Yeah, they were not Man United, so we're not going to lose to a team like that.
Yeah, I don't know. Brighton did beat Man United last week. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. In terms of midfield, I'll save Salah and Mane and the rest of them for the forwards because that's what they are in my mind. I know they're technically wingers, but we'll start with I think Mkhitaryan has some GPP value. I'm not really interested from 8.6K. There's other guys in Arsenal I'd rather work with.
Are you a big Richarlison fan?
Sorry?
You a big Richarlison fan, the guy on Everton?
Yes, absolutely. I was going to talk about him next. First, the thing about Bournemouth is they got like 2 or 3 guys that are world class, and you have to mention them every slate because if you don't, you're going to look like an idiot.
Fraser was the first one, and who was the second?
Ryan Fraser. We'll talk about the other 2, Callum Wilson and Josh King. But we'll start with Ryan Fraser.
Yeah, the forward, right?
Sorry?
King's a forward, right?
Yeah, the other 2 are forwards. Yeah, Ryan Fraser is a midfielder. Takes the set pieces, that kind of thing. So he has an incredible floor every single slate. The thing with Ryan Fraser is I hate playing the guy. I can't stand playing him, but he always comes through.
What do you think for this game, Bournemouth Everton? What's the result you're thinking in your head?
2-1 Everton.
Tough road win.
The thing is that Fraser and Sigurdsson, who's 7.1K and Fraser's 8.5K, are like cash gods. Every single slate, you can literally just blindly pick them, and you're probably going to win your double ups as long as everyone else doesn't absolutely ruin you. Like they'll just carry you with this incredible floor every single slate, and especially Ryan Fraser, who has been on the up and up this season. But the fact is, Bournemouth haven't even played anyone yet. Their schedule has been borderline a joke. So I'm not buying into this concept that Bournemouth are this awesome team. They're really good at home last year, and Everton were like the worst team away last year. So a lot of people are saying that it's just the repeat, but I don't buy it again. I think Everton's a brand new team, and I think Bournemouth's the exact same team. Sorry?
Who's their manager these days?
Yeah, they got a guy named Marco Silva, I believe.
Where's he from?
He came from Watford.
I don't know much about him.
Well, see, the funny thing is that he was with Watford, who was also like doing this crazy coaching. We can't decide our coach. And Everton started saying, we want that coach. So Watford fired him.
Before Watford, do you know?
Sorry?
You know where he came from before Watford?
No, I don't. I'm sorry.
Gotcha.
I'm pretty sure he's probably Spanish or Portuguese. I would bet my life on it.
No, I thought he was Chinese.
But yeah, surprise. But no, he's crazy attack minded. And he was with Watford, and so was Richarlison, right? Richarlison was with Watford.
He was their marquee signing, so
yeah,
he's someone
and then
who really
the coach left to Everton, and so he basically brought Richarlison for this crazy amount of money with him.
Oh, right.
It was absurd. Anyways, back to the original premise here.
Sorry, ramble. Yes, just to remind, you were saying Gilfie and our boy Ryan Frazier are pretty much cash
mostly. But the problem is right now, obviously, it's not ideal to pick them both in the same game, especially for cash. That's just super suboptimal. So
why? Can you just explain why?
That's a GPP script. You know what I mean? The only way they're both going to work out is if they both do well. But theoretically, the only way one will do well is if the other team doesn't. Do you know what I mean? So like,
so you don't see like a 3-3 boot like affair or 4-3 fine. You're seeing like a 2-0 result one way or the other.
It can happen in soccer, but rarely. Like if you blindly just picked for the 2-0 win, most weeks you're going to be correct, or like a 2-1 win or the 1-0, you know. So you don't really necessarily have there are blowout games for sure. Like last weekend, the Arsenal and Chelsea game surprised literally everyone. It was the first time in like 15 years that they scored more than 3 goals or something. I don't know. It was nuts. Yeah. It was crazy, right? So like it happens. But the thing is that the only way Ryan Frazier is going to do the best that he can possibly do this slate is if Everton don't do well and Bournemouth do better than good, you know, like above average, and Everton have to do below average in order for Frazier to theoretically get that height of a ceiling or a solid floor. Basically, Sigurdsson can't do well, and vice versa. If Sigurdsson's going to reach that proper height, Frazier and Bournemouth can't do well. Now, theoretically, yes, they both can do well, but in that situation, they're probably not doing as well as they could or should be. They're both doing okay, but like you can't take that risk at 7.1 and 8.5 when you have Salah and Mane both scoring 40, and both of them are owned in cash at like 60%. So you just can't risk that salary. So it's safer, honestly, this week to go one or the other or fade them. You just can't take both.
Yeah, no, sorry, finish. Yeah.
No, that's fine. No, absolutely. And like I'm on the Sigurdsson side, especially for 7.1K. Sigurdsson's shown throughout his career on different teams that it doesn't matter who he's playing against, he's still going to score that like 10 fantasy points or whatever, right? So I'm on the Everton side. I think Richarlison's an excellent GPP play. He against or with Watford last year, their first like whatever couple months, he was scoring every single game, just like he is right now. So this isn't a surprise. This isn't something new. This is what he does. However, usually around like October, it literally just it's over. It's done. He stops. He doesn't score again for the rest of the season. He's only played one season so far, but like there's no reason not to expect that to happen again since it's been identical so far with the exact same coach. So wait and see what happens. But I'm still on the Richarlison train until he stops. And there's nothing to suggest Bournemouth are like the slowest defense in the league by far. So he should have no problem causing tons of problems. And conversely, going back to Begovic, all this means Begovic just has the potential to do even bigger and better things with the ceiling because these guys are so flames, right? It's just inevitable for him. Either Begovic is going to do awesome or he's going to crap it. So I like Everton. But yeah, going on from there, James Maddison on Leicester, another guy, 7.6K. Don't be afraid to use him if you end up in any format, really, with a little bit extra money. Don't feel like you have to rest on Sigurdsson. Maddison is one of the best cash plays, not only in the slate, potentially in the league right now, especially Jamie Vardy suspended for the next 3 games. So Maddison's probably not coming off the field. That's the way it was in preseason. He played every second when Vardy wasn't playing. So Maddison has exclusive rights to set pieces, like absolute exclusive rights. Even the people that show that he's just showed up this season from
just
like
in case people don't know, set pieces are free kicks, and they're very important in DraftKings in particular because you know it's a cross, it's a shot, it could be a goal. You know, it's like you know, it's
not only this too, but corners too, but it's raw production. Like you're not, especially a free kick goal, you're not sharing that with anyone. Right. You know what I mean? You're not worrying about the guy who had the free kick and the header or whatever like that. You know what I mean? So free kick goals are huge. They're arguably the most valuable goal in soccer. Same with penalty shots because it's just raw production. You're not sharing it with anybody. But in terms of like the crosses are just more valuable in DraftKings than they are in FanDuel. So guys like James Madison are incredibly crucial to your cash cards because he's going to cross the ball at least 5 times and see 90 minutes. You need guys who play 90 minutes. If they're not going to play 90 minutes, do not select them, because what's going to happen is you're going to sit there for 20 minutes. 20 minutes is a long time watching other people all around you make points while you're sitting there with the guy on the bench. It's the worst feeling in DFS soccer. Play people with 90 minutes. It's incredibly crucial.
And just in case people don't know, Rob's not making that number up. The 70-minute mark is a pretty 68th minute is pretty much the known time that the coaches make their subs for the guys that aren't going the full 90. So it's not only that, but sometimes it's in the 80s and stuff too. But it said it perfectly, man. 20 minutes is a long time to see everyone else's score going up and not yours.
It literally takes 1 minute for you to lose everything and win everything. I had my first takedowns came from Marcus Rashford taking a foul in the 95th minute and cost this guy that I was up against 0.5 points. That's how much a foul is.
Exactly. And
I had a pure takedown at that point, and it was crazy, right? I couldn't believe it. It literally takes one minute, and player sitting on the bench, that 0.5 can make the difference in thousands of dollars. But to continue on here, sorry. It sucks because
one quick thing. Liverpool, I would not be shocked if Klopp mixes up the midfield a little bit this week and throws in Fabinho or Jordan Henderson. It's not lock, but they're pretty cheap prices, and if they are starting, then I think you can target them. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, that's absolutely correct. The one thing I'll talk about actually is James Milner on Liverpool.
Oh, yeah.
Now, James Milner is the prototypical cash guy for the last couple of seasons for Liverpool. He would take all their set pieces. Things are great. Jordan Henderson and James Milner.
Oh, he took all the penalty kicks, not all the set pieces.
No, everything. James Milner was taking everything. He was taking corners, free kicks.
Really?
Penalty shots over the past couple of seasons, not consistently. Sometimes all at the same time. Especially Jordan Henderson was hurt and Salah was hurt for like 2 weeks there, and so he literally did everything for 2 weeks and was scoring 20 points.
Iron Man.
And then like what ended up happening, his salary was like 8.8K, and he wasn't playing, and everyone knew he wasn't playing. But that's just what happens when he was so inflated, right? So. What's happening now is that him and Jordan Henderson are literally the exact same role to Liverpool. The captain, like as soon as Henderson steps on the field, he gets the armband. James Milner stepping off the field. They play the same position. They do the same thing, everything. So the fact is that Jordan Henderson's going to be getting 90-minute games. He's the captain of Liverpool. He's not someone they're just going to put on for 15 minutes every game. So
he had a long summer. The World Cup, England went all the way to the semifinals or whatever. So Klopp's a very experienced manager. Liverpool has a lot of depth this season, so he knows exactly what he's doing. But you absolutely are right. Jordan Henderson was the guy Liverpool brought in to be the Steven Gerrard's replacement, basically. So he's not a guy who has to fight for playing time or prove himself.
Exactly. So he's going to be getting the minutes. And what's going to happen is that James Milner will end up playing a lot of Euro competitions. Mm-hmm. And he'll probably wear the armband for Euro competitions, especially like lower echelon of games or lower division of games or whatever. Like it'll be James Milner. Sorry?
The group stage.
Exactly. Also, anytime they're playing a lower type of team, Milner's going to get the 90 minutes, and then we can think about it. But just not today, because Henderson's going to slowly eat away at those minutes week after week until it's Milner who's coming on for Henderson for the last 5 minutes of the game, and not the other way around. But what this really means, this is what I really want to talk about, is that when Milner comes off the field, Henderson doesn't take those set pieces anymore. They fall to the wing backs of Robertson and Trent Alexander-Arnold. So the less and less minutes Milner plays every week, the better and better it gets for Trent Alexander-Arnold. And his salary isn't reflecting his salary is reflecting how good he does, but it doesn't reflect how less and less and less minutes James Milner's playing. So I still think even at 6.6K, we're getting a big discount at Trent Alexander this week, at Trent Alexander-Arnold, excuse me, because he should be 7.2, 7.4K up there in that range, like with the collar offs of the day back a couple years ago.
I was just about to ask you, has there ever really been anyone like that?
Yeah, absolutely. Mendy is going to be that expensive for Man City in the upcoming slates. Holebas has gotten up there a couple times. 6.7 is kind of like the max. When they hit 7, it's like they're really doing something obscene. Like the last time I think of someone who was consistently up there every week was Kolarov. And that's when he had like exclusive set pieces rights on Man City. And he was scoring every week and taking 8 to 11 crosses and like all these crazy things.
Sometimes
he was 7.4K for like 4 or 5 straight weeks there. So that was a while ago though, and there hasn't really been something that crazy since. But yeah. Anyways, back to midfield. Sorry.
They say that Klopp wants Alexander-Arnold to be like a Jordan Henderson type role.
I'm not sure. That's the thing with Liverpool is like they have all sorts of guys that want to do all sorts of things.
Yeah.
Like I don't know what Shaqiri was planning on doing when he joined the team, unless he was planning on playing like.
Put him he'll either be on one of the wings in terms of like when he's resting, and look, it's a long season, so.
Absolutely. But yeah, my concern is that eventually this is going to eat into the minutes of Salah and Mane, which I just talked about earlier. You can't play a guy that is not going to play a solid amount of minutes. So it's like that's just problems to me. And like, who's the former Arsenal guy? I can't think of.
Oxlade, but he's out all season.
Like, I don't know what he says. He's a center midfielder, but he's obviously a winger. And like, it's like okay, go do this then, and like. Henderson could probably play center back if they needed. You know what I mean? Like, so they have players that can play in all sorts of different positions. It's a very strange team, especially
if you want to, win the treble or something like that. You need to basically have like 2 starting lineups.
That literally what you need is 2 starting lineups. And for the last couple seasons, they've been struggling with that because Lallana has been in their second lineup, or another injury guy has been in their second lineup, and they've just been patching and patching and patching. You just can't patch anymore. So they're legit this year.
You don't see Real patch. You don't see Barcelona patch. Chelsea doesn't even patch. If you're a big club, which Liverpool is, and they're playing like they are, and they say they want to be thought of, they need to prove it. And I think this was the first couple years they've really backed that up with investment. And it makes me laugh sometimes when people try and say that Liverpool is trying to buy the league, because if you actually look at their net spend in the last like 5 or 6 years, it's 100-something million versus 500 million in Man U and Man City and a few teams like that. So yes, you're absolutely right. You need to buy 2 teams basically, and you patch your way through. And there's a lot of factors. Like we just mentioned, the World Cup with Henderson, Fabinho just transferred over, so he's got to learn the system. There's a lot of things that go into it. Then there's just the chemistry factor too. Soccer's a big chemistry.
Like the leagues themselves are different. Like the type of play is different. The training that the players go through in the team structures are completely different. Like the Spanish leagues, when you look at the parts of the world that speak Spanish, it's again completely different style of play. French. Think of the amount of places in the world that speak French, like the African nations that speak French. So like the interchangeable kind of like a player from Africa can very easily go to France and play, just like a player from Canada could go to England and have no problem adjusting with languages and stuff. It's like
adjusted is language, is just culture, the food, the life, the weather. It's a lot. So
everything is nuts. So like I couldn't imagine. I have a buddy that goes to Portugal to play. It's like okay, like that's nuts to me. Like it's so warm, and I would go to Norway. Forget Portugal. Like
yeah, you got the beard for Norway, so you fit right in. All right, sorry, we digress, everybody. So is there anyone in the I guess I kind of touched on it briefly, but the reason I brought up the potential lineup shift for the Liverpool is, and also another thing, they spent a lot of money on a guy named Naby Keita this summer, who, as a guy who's been watching the games and seeing how involved he is, I think he's due for a very big fantasy day sooner rather than later.
Nice. Yeah, I got no problems with that. The next guy I want to talk about is Damari Gray on Leicester. He's the second Leicester guy that I'm really looking to. There's 3 Bournemouth guys I was talking about. There's 3 Leicester guys that I'm in love with this week. Obviously, Pereira's one. James Madison's a good cash option, but I'm talking GPP here. The second's Damari Gray. I was pretty bullish on him in cash last week. It cost me a little bit, especially where I had either him or Vardy. Was not a good week, so I'm looking to a little bit more GPP on this slate for sure. His salary speaks to me at only 6K. I think the 6K range is absolutely gold this slate. I'll talk about it once we get to forwards a little bit more, but just so many people in the 6K range this slate that you can just blindly put into your cards and know they'll at least compete with a Salah card later down the line. But there's only a couple more players I really want to talk about. The first is Guendouzi in Arsenal. This is my guy. This is my dude. I'm on him because no one else is talking about him. I
was actually just about to ask you about that. He's young. He's got the fro, right?
Yeah, he is quite a cat.
Like 4K or something. He's cheap.
Yeah, 4.1K. Okay, here's what I like about Arsenal and Guendouzi in general. Guendouzi's someone that's going to get you 9 points, but absolutely none of it is going to come from attacking peripheral production. It's literally all defensive. Interceptions, tackles, drawing fouls, etc., etc.
Where is he on the pitch? But like defensive midfield around there?
Yeah, defensive midfielder, center midfielder. So it's like he's not very attacking involved compared to like an Ozil or a Mkhitaryan.
Yeah, he's not going to send in that through ball like that sets.
No, they play up the field. He plays back, right? So the thing about Guendouzi is he is going to get his 9 points just from doing what he does, right? So that's not going to change most weeks because Arsenal are a good enough team that you really don't have to worry about the opposition unless it's like one of 3 teams. And thankfully, Arsenal have already played 2 of those 3 teams, so we're not going to have to worry about it for a while. Arsenal's schedule has been a disaster. No one's going to be looking at Arsenal this slate, especially if you pick Liverpool, if you pick Salah as your first pick, and if your second pick is not an Arsenal salary like Ozil or Mkhitaryan or someone who we'll talk about here in a bit, there's no way you can afford them. It's just impossible. It will not happen. So people aren't going to be on Arsenal, plain and simple. So I like Guendouzi a lot. He's going to get you 9 points. West Ham are atrocious. They're going to just open up so many positive variance doors for attacks to happen that all Guendouzi has to do is just exist. His 9 points are going to do it for you basically in either format because if you take him in GPP, he's going to allow you to afford Salah and Mane and Sigurdsson and Trent Alexander-Arnold and Alisson. So, like, load up on Guendouzi. No issue with him whatsoever. The second guy who I'm going to be rolling with as much as possible, and he's another super value guy. I want to find his price here. Sorry, before
Iwobi?
No, actually, my problem with Iwobi is he isn't seeing enough minutes. Just like we don't know if he's going to get 90 minutes. He never has in his career with Arsenal.
Sorry, the guy I was. Oh, my bad. Finish. Sorry.
Yeah, he's just not a 90-minute career player. Like someone like Marcus Rashford, if he starts, you can bet on him to play 90 minutes because it's Marcus Rashford. You know what I mean? Right, but like someone like Alex Iwobi, you can't really bet on him.
Not yet. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe another year, maybe 5 games down the road. I'm not denying
injuries around the squad, and then he'll get more minutes.
Yeah, exactly. So back to Cardiff. Junior Hollett, the Canadian. The thing about Fridays is that the question marks start popping up next to the names, the questionable designations, and we don't really know what's going on. So he was healthy. He's not now. I'm not as bullish on him now with that queue, but that's what happens when that queue pops up. And I'm nothing special, so if I'm thinking this, lots of people are thinking this, so maybe that makes him even better play. I was pretty bullish on Hollett in GPP, especially this slate, but Joe Rawls on Cardiff, 4.8K. If you take Joe Rawls and Guendouzi, I promise you'll be able to afford Salah, 2 Liverpool defenders, and Allison for a GPP. If you want it. If you want to go cash, it's even crazier what you can accomplish.
What does this guy play?
Midfielder, he has he has almost exclusive corner rights.
Oh, I got you.
Full set pieces rights, but corner rights. And it wouldn't surprise me if Huddersfield give up a ton of corners this game. They're very organized at the back. They're not an attacking team, so they're going to let Cardiff come at them, and they're going to not only create defensive production, but they're going to allow Rawls to have some corners, make some crosses, do what he has to do from 4.8K. All you really need from him is 8 to 10 fantasy points, which really shouldn't be too big of an ask considering Huddersfield aren't that good of a team. If you take Rawls and Guendouzi, basically all you need is 15 fantasy points combined from those two. And if everyone else just does what they're supposed to do, not only are you taking down every double up that you're in, but you have a serious chance to finish in the upper pay dirts of GPPs. So I have no problem with Rawls and Guendouzi paired up in the midfield. That's where I'm going to be going basically in every double up so that I enter this slate. And I'll talk about it a little bit more in forwards, but yeah, that's definitely how I'm attacking midfields. I don't see any. See, this is going back to Ryan Fraser. I don't see any purpose in chasing Ryan Fraser's 20 for 8.5K when I can get a 10 from Guendouzi for literally half that price.
So just to catch everyone up and summarize, this is very, very important info, and like I hope the viewers realize that these 2 tidbits right here, make this show well worth everyone's time. It's basically what Rob's saying is if you stick in Guendouzi and Joe Rawls, you have all the salary you need to not only be able to count on your cheap guys to hit value and play and just really be a part of everything, but you can really stick in Liverpool, which for cash and probably GPP purposes is going to be very high. Should be produce a lot of points. And
like going back to defense really again quick, you put in Joe Bennett at 4.2K. You put in Van Dijk at 4K. You put in Rawls at 4.8 and Guendouzi at 4.1. There's literally you're going to have salary no matter who you put
have in. Allison, Salah,
the top names until it stops letting you click names, and you're still going to have salary. So those names right there, Joe Bennett, Rawls, and Guendouzi. If you get those guys in, you're going to be able to afford a lot. I highly recommend those 3 guys. And especially Joe Bennett and Rawls together is a decent little stack. If you really want to get cute, Joe Bennett, Rawls, and Hoylett together make an incredibly cheap stack that really allows you to attack Liverpool and Arsenal, or Liverpool and Everton, or Liverpool and it's just you can do those things. Leicester, excuse me. So yeah, that's where I'm at this slate so far with value is those 3 names.
Just so our viewers know, Rob, the only reason he likes Hoylett is because he's Canadian. So
2 reasons.
Take it what he says with a grain of salt.
Yeah, he played in Queen Park Rangers.
I remember.
And they got sick jerseys, so I was all
the blue and white ones, right?
Yeah, exactly. Sick, they're a good London club from way old school.
Yeah, no, they were good. They just, they're always relegated, coming back and up and down.
They're like Crystal Palace. They'll be back.
I used to transcribe. What's it called? Transcribe and sub commentate or something for NBC Sports, and I did the EPL stuff back in the day. So I would just be, watch the games and. In the beginning when I was new, they would stick me with QPR and stuff, or Crystal Palace.
QPR and Fulham this year. Yeah. Fulham and QPR were the worst teams in English Premier League history. They were so bad. I don't think Fulham maybe got 1 win all season, or no wins all season. Only got 3 points, 3 ties, or something crazy. They were so bad that season. And Holloway was playing. It was embarrassing. Yeah. But yeah.
Cool. So, is there any other forwards or anything else you want to touch on?
Yeah, there's a couple things I really want to talk about here in forwards. Before I get to Liverpool, there's just a couple names I want to lay on everyone. quickly, I talked about Callum Wilson and Josh King and Bourne.
I'm glad you mentioned him. Callum Wilson's the man. I'm glad he was badly injured a couple years ago. It's good to see him firing again.
I was talking to him again this week a little bit. He does this thing where like he'll go 5 games straight with like 2 goals every game and like break every slate and be the lock and so easy. And then he goes out and has this like life-threatening injury where like he breaks his back or breaks his leg in literally half. And somehow comes back to play. He used to be the captain. That's the thing is like when Bournemouth just came into the league in 2015, he was the captain. Like off the bat, he was the guy who led them to promotion and got them out of the championship division to the Premier League. And then he had that crazy game against West Ham where he scored a hat trick and like this crazy volley goal that won them the game. And it was like the say crazy again, the craziest thing that ever happened in English Premier League soccer because like Bournemouth hadn't won a game, no one expected them to win, and West Ham were a really good team at the time, and they won. And then he goes out and like literally breaks his leg in half, like horribly. Comes back the next season, has another really great run of form, and then breaks his back, and then misses the entire season again, and then starts to come back towards the end of last season. So like, good on him. Props. He's flames right now. He's easily the hottest forward in the English Premier League, the slate. So if you're going to play Bournemouth, Callum Wilson's good. A lot of people are going to be on him, though. And if you really think Bournemouth at home are a real threat, you can just pivot to King for a massive salary difference. And that kind of salary difference there is something that allows you, again, to make that real jump to the Salehs and the Manes and the big salaries. So I'm not opposed. I still like the Everton side more, but there's no denying the Bournemouth guys up front. 2 guys quickly I want to talk about. Keelan Inichiro on Leicester should be getting the 90 minutes now that Jamie Vardy's gone.
That's the one who used to be on Man City?
Yeah, and like wonder kid status.
Good.
He was supposed to be. It's funny, it went Drogba, then Lukaku, and then he was supposed to be the next Lukaku. Like the massive guy up front that just completely dominated everything. And he didn't pan out with Man City. They sold him. He's kind of been in the background at
Wow, they didn't even loan him out. They sold him?
Yeah, oh yeah. They loaned him out originally and then they outright sold him to Leicester. He did his first year, he was definitely loaned out to Leicester. But like this weekend's going to be his first real shot at like consistent multiple weeks of 90-minute games. So I'm looking for him. I'll even play him in cash. It's a risk. I'm not excited about it, but I'm positive he's going to score this slate. Like, I don't know how Leicester don't score this slate. That's how bad Southampton have been so far the last 2 seasons, back-to-back, consistently. So, like, Leicester should score. Inichiro is the guy that's, like, lined up to be the most beneficiary from all the changes with Vardy being suspended. And he's only 6.1K. Really hard to turn that down. Another guy I'm crazy in love with again for GPP, going right back to Cardiff, is Kenneth Sahor at only 5.5K. I think when you look at all the value options for forward this slate, I'll talk about this again in a couple minutes, but there just isn't many guys. And Zahor is going to get 90 minutes against a team that's not very good. And those 2 factors may not seem like very much, but when you're down at 5.5K and you need to afford the Salah, you don't got many other options than Kenneth Sahor. And it just so happens he's not that bad of an option. So I have no issue using him. There's one more guy here that I wanted to talk about. I'm not like... I'm a little bit disgusted in myself what I'm about to say. I'm not looking forward to this, but Aubameyang is by far my favorite GPP.
Really?
Oh my god, like obscenely. I cannot wait.
Player. Yeah, he was on Dortmund and all that. He's a joke. He's an unbelievable guy. So
cannot wait to play him this slate. If you play Salah and your next click isn't Aubameyang, he will not feature in a card. Period. If your next click isn't him, it's financially impossible to do it. Literally, unless you went the strategy I said earlier with the Bennett, Rawls, and Guendouzi, and then find someone else to be really cheap. You can't afford a keeper, you can't afford another defender, and you can't afford a utility that's any good. So it's like it's absolutely unbelievable what kind of a pivot he is showing up to be this slate. West Ham are horrendous at the back. I want to scream this into the microphone for everyone to get the idea right now.
I hope my old doorman John from Australia is listening to that one.
No, I got lots of West Ham friends, and they're not. They can still score. They can still score goals. That's not their issue at all.
They have a talented team, but apparently their defense is a joke.
Unbelievable. Well, see, it all revolves around this guy named Winston Reed. Winston Reed. No, they're
Australian, right, or New Zealand or something.
Sorry,
Australian or New Zealand or something.
I think so. Yeah. I think so. He's hurt, and he's been hurt a lot over the last 2 or 3 seasons. Over those times that he's been hurt, West Ham basically let in minimum 2 goals every game. Minimum. And when you're looking at something like, well, what if Liverpool only scored 2 goals? And what if Sal only gets one of them at 11.3 and Arsenal go out and score 4 goals, which isn't that crazy. West Ham are that bad that literally any team in the English Premier League are going to come out and score 2 goals on them. And Arsenal happen to be a really good team. So if you're just like Bournemouth scored 2 goals on them in 5 minutes, Bournemouth are not a good away team. They're like the worst away team. So like the fact that they came into West Ham's home field and scored 2 goals and won the game, West Ham are in free fall mode. If Bayern doesn't score 2 goals this slate, I'll be very surprised.
You don't worry that they're gonna like sub Aubameyang out for Lacazette or something?
No, Lacazette will come in for Iwobi.
Oh, okay.
I don't think they'll take. The only way Aubameyang's coming off is if Welbeck's coming on, and the only way I see is it. Welbeck's with them, right? And Sturridge is with Liverpool.
Yeah, Sturridge is still with Liverpool.
Yeah. If Welbeck comes on, and I just don't see Welbeck coming on unless the game is like out of hand. And if the game's out of hand, Aubameyang may not do it. Like literally, if anyone watched last weekend's game, he missed like the easiest shot ever, and then got a tap in and like kicked his own leg and missed the ball. So like maybe he's snake bitten. Maybe it's just not happening.
Adjusting to life in England, I'm sure it's new. He'll get it soon.
The fact is that like he is going to be so pathetically low owned compared to how bad West Ham are, that it's like I can't imagine a better situation here than he's the ultimate pivot from Liverpool. It's scary because I can't think of a situation where you don't want to pick Liverpool. And again, I'm not that special. A lot of people must be thinking like I am. And Salah is going to be obscenely owned in GPPs. So like my theory, even I was going to talk about 2 more things, is that I love Aubameyang, obviously. I think Mane is an incredible play this slate, and I'm actually going to have him in a higher exposure rate than Salah, just because Salah is going to be owned so crazy high. Mane's been playing better than him this season, and he's cheaper. So I have no issue taking Mane in either format, especially if you're in a head-to-head with someone and you really want to win. Take Mane. Because they're taking Salah. You can literally you can make a second bet altogether that they're probably going to play.
Oh, Mane.
Exactly. I love Mane this week. In fact, if you're to ask me my 3 favorite GPP forwards, Salah isn't even my top 3. So it's not that he's not going to do well, or he's probably still going to break the slate and score 40 points or whatever, and I'm still going to have him a lot. But the fact is that he's just going to be so high owned that like everyone else gets a huge uptick because of how high owned he's going to be. And like there's nothing to suggest Mane can't do as well as Salah for 30% less ownership. There's nothing to suggest West Ham can somehow prevent Arsenal for doing as well as Salah for 50% less ownership.
Yeah, look at it perfectly. Not only will they be higher owned. I don't know why it's suddenly doing that again, but not only is it a good pivot But on top of it, you know, the defenders, the people that are actually out there guarding Salah and Liverpool, they're thinking the same way as us. You know, they're going to pay a little extra attention to him. This guy's coming off a record-breaking season. He just set the new goal record in the Premier League, and you know he's up for Golden Boot. Player of the Year with Ronaldo and I think Modric. So you know when you're in that conversation, it's you know you're 12K or 11K on DraftKings. You know you're gonna have people trying to injure you and kick you in the shins a little bit. You know, so you can't go out and embarrass them. So
literally, what I was just
someone like Mane is overshadowed a little bit, and he's just as talented.
Like Salah's hitting the point here right now where he's like superhuman Iron Man not getting hurt kind of situation where like he's got to get hurt here in the next month or so, or he's I know, right? Knock on wood, don't worry, knock on wood. But like that's just the kind of the state it's at. So like the ownership on Salah is creating such a crazy edge, not even talking about anything else, that he could come off, that he could get injured, they may not score goals, whatever. There's a lot to like. And one more thing I really want to quickly talk about here, sorry. This is for anyone who's playing FanDuel, and we really didn't get much FanDuel love. The forward list in FanDuel this week sucks. It's garbage. It's horrible. Like across the board, there's Salah and maybe Marko Arnautovic on West Ham for cash. Maybe if you're feeling.
I don't play FanDuel, but I'm just saying, don't sleep on Roberto Firmino if he's on that.
Yeah, and like, well, see, he's the most expensive forward on FanDuel, right? And so if you're taking him, because Salah and Mane are both listed as midfield. I just assumed
Salah was more expensive.
So yeah, well they are more expensive, but they're midfielders,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, makes sense. So
like in the forwards, Firmino dominates that, and like I thought about it taking Firmino in cash, but like he doesn't even have a floor, and he's probably not playing 90 minutes. So I don't know. I'm not really into the idea of Firmino at all, especially from again, like okay, let's say you take Salah and Mane, and you happen to have 8.8K left in the bank, somehow you magically did this, who are you going to take? Firmino or Aubameyang? Aubameyang.
Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang.
See, but like the logical thing would be to stack the Firmino, right? But
yeah, I hear you. Look, I'll say this about Firmino. I've been watching him for a long time, and he is not afraid at all to just run back, play a lot of midfield and D the way he plays, and not take shots and really let Sadio and look. The reason Liverpool's these front three play so well together is because none of them really force it. You know, it's whoever's making the run and happens to be streaking. Usually it's Salah or like you said, Mane streaking down the side. So you know, Liverpool plays through the wings like that. That's how they run the offense. So yeah, more often than not, that clearly favors Mane and Salah. But you know, Bobby, man, a lot of people said he was not going to be a good number 9 for Liverpool. And, you know, as a diehard fan, I couldn't be happier with him. And I know we're not talking about overall player. We're talking about like DraftKings stats here and FanDuel. So yeah. I'm with you on that. But I do feel a 1-2, like a 2-3 goal explosion coming from him sooner rather than later.
Absolutely. And like
2 goals, you know, something like that.
Yeah, obviously stacking GPP, it's logical, you know, to take the 3 Liverpool guys because that's what ceiling is. You want the 5-0 win. That's the ceiling. You don't want a 1-0 win. That's not a ceiling. So, like, taking all 3 is obviously the way to go. But, like, as far as I'm concerned,
Aubameyang's a million times better for GPP. You're 100% right about that.
And, like, especially, well, just DFS in general, Firmino doesn't translate to DFS. Like even looking at his first, I think against West Ham, he got an assist and only played 70 minutes and only scored 2 fantasy points outside of that assist. Played almost 90 minutes against Palace, the worst defense ever, and barely got 2 fantasy points again. You know what I mean? So like that 2 fantasy points, as far as I'm concerned right now, is his floor and ceiling, and that's not acceptable. He could go out and score a goal, but technically he's only going to finish with 14 fantasy points. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know.
2+. And okay, he scores 2 goals. Then he's going to get like 28 fantasy points. And like that's great, but 2 goals from Mane is worth 40 points. 2 goals from Aubameyang is worth 38 points. You know, from Firmino, you know what his goals are going to be worth, and +2 every time does not cut whatever you're doing at 8.8K. Doesn't cut it, especially the ownership. Everyone's going to take Firmino.
He's the forward. He's the striker for pretty much the best offensive team in the Prem right now. So things like DraftKings and FanDuel, like by default, make that guy more expensive than others.
Huge trap.
Doesn't necessarily mean
it's logic. You know, it's just logic. Yeah. But
anyway,
guys,
we got to wrap this up a little bit. This was a long show, a good one. We hope you enjoyed. And before we end it, I want to, Rob, is there anything you want to highlight or recap before we call it a day?
One quick thing: play midfield and forwards in your forward slot this slate. Don't try and put another forward in. Just play the midfielder forwards on DraftKings. They're infinitely across the board better options, except maybe in like GPP settings and stuff. But like, yeah, get the Sigurdssons and the Salas and the value guys from earlier. Man, good luck. Beautiful,
great show, guys. Again, RotoPros.com. We were excited. We relaunched a couple days ago, a week ago, something like that. Site looks pretty good. The community is pretty happy. We're very supportive of each other. We just want to educate and win together, fully comply with industry standards and regulations, and we want to do that for a very long time. And look, just come join the family. We've got a 2-week free trial. There's really nothing to lose. If you don't like it after 2 weeks, feel free to message us and ask us, not to charge you, and then you can leave, and that's fine. We are here today because of the community, and we hope to be, big one day with this community and grow together and just educate the masses. So RotoPros.com, you got, people like Rob, Chris, Harris, and myself all available to, really provide a DFS education and win together and lose together too sometimes. So, we know there's a lot of services out there that, maybe, try and make it seem like they're just guaranteed wins and they're not industry compliant and just selling lineups and things like that. But that's not what we're about here. We really want to teach you guys how to be successful in the long run and to not need a place like us and, with our articles and skeletons. But, come join the fam, guys. Can't stress it enough. And we're very supportive, 24/7 Slack chat. So that's it for me. RotoPros.com. Have a good day, everybody.
Later.